So yeah, hi, I'm Marcus. I'm an app growth consultant, mainly focused on meta ads and optimizing like your upper funnel in order to drive good performance on the channel. Been doing that for the past 12 years, worked in gaming, subscription apps, and been doing consulting now for the past 2 years. As Hannah already mentioned, I want to talk to you about Advantage Plus and 10 hotfixes for Meta's broken algorithm. I heard that a lot in the last years that Meta is supposedly broken. I think there are ways you can work around this. It's just that since ATT, of course, things haven't been performing so well anymore. But we're going to look into what you can do about it. The infamous black box. So Meta has been slapping their Advantage Plus label onto like almost any product. You have Advantage Plus campaign, Advantage Plus placements, audience, creative, and Advantage Plus campaign budget optimization. And it's a bit hard to make sense of all of this. You don't know what's happening in the background, how they work together. And it can be really messy at times if you go into Ads Manager and you're seeing all these different labels on things that recommend to, in the end, turn all of this on, or Meta even by default turns things on, and it tells you it's going to be tailored, it's going to be best practice. You're going to see 33% lower results, it's streamlined, or it's the recommended adjustment. So who would want to argue with that? If Meta tells you this is the way to go, of course I'm going to opt in for all of these. But then if things don't work and you don't have really any targeting options left and you don't have any settings that you did put in there yourself, then how can you debug this? If the autopilot doesn't work for you, what's going to be the next step? We're going to look into kind of the steps that I try to take if performance is bad and the adjustments that basically I can still make. Let's start on the first one. Big principle of mine is that you should never really never really treat Meta as a single channel. In the end, they have a family of apps, as they call it, with Facebook and Instagram being, of course, the biggest ones, but then also Messenger is, for example, a placement you can advertise on. The one on the right is their audience network, still a big placement on Android. So don't forget about all of these. There's different placements on all of these. So even within each channel, you can reach different audiences by thinking about these different placements. Like a Facebook feed compared to an Instagram Reels is going to drive a totally different audience compared to the other placements. And as you optimize your account, you don't just want to look at what's happening on a blended CPA and on your campaign level, but really dig in on what's still working on these placements, because reporting actually isn't a black box on Meta. Compared to like a Google, you can get a lot of insights when you dig into breakdown performance and really look for these kind of small segments that might be performing, even though your overall campaign might not be performing at the moment. So unlocking one of these can really be like adding an additional channel to your mix. Here's a breakdown from one of my clients, and 25% of their spend on Android was going to audience network rewarded video, a placement that's not coming up often, but for them, there was a specific creative driving performance on that one placement. And of course, if I dig into this and find, hey, I have one ad set that's performing better than all the others, it's due to that placement. I want to learn why and how I can make more of that. So for that, we want to understand traffic composition at all times and really get a good view of like where am I spending within that big portfolio of placements. I think it's like 25, 30 or so. I lost count as well. What I usually set up for that is kind of a placement distribution, age distribution, and also gender would be the other layer you can add on here because Meta gives you that data through ads reporting. You can also use like ETL tools like a Supermetrics to pull all that data out on an automated basis, and basically day by day can have a look at where am I spending at the moment, are there any shifts happening, because whenever a shift is happening, you should also anticipate that things are changing down funnel because the traffic composition has changed. In the end, as I said, blended CPA is irrelevant. If you have a cost per trial, assuming that you're a subscription app of $15 on Instagram Reels compared to a $15 CPT in a Facebook feed, then the audience behind this is totally different. So you will have to expect different down funnel conversion. So really dig into this data on an account level, but also on a campaign and creative level, because you're going to find outliers that will tell you a whole lot about where you should be spending. And just a quick reminder, old people have more money, meaning for most apps, they want to kind of learn how to advertise to older people. Ads on social media for apps tend to skew a bit young because it's just a young format. And many apps kind of just trust the algorithm of making these decisions, but it's up to you to find out how you can increase your age mix to older audiences to then increase your down-funnel conversion. Third principle. Model your target mix using first-party data. So now you know what's going on the upper funnel, you know how old your traffic is, where it's coming from. You, of course, want to understand how does that stuff convert. Since ATG, you cannot just make the link of I know which campaign they came from, I know the down-funnel conversion, I know the return on ad spend. So it's up to you to kind of model that against what you know about your users. So the way to do this is generally through onboarding. Simple example, onboarding survey, we're asking for age here. That way you're ingesting that data into your first-party data, and then you can, in your product, check how are these different cohorts performing. Who's retaining longer, who's converting from trial to paid, who is inviting more friends. So you can really find out the different value of these age segments. And in the end, they're the same age segments reported on Meta. So now if I know 18 to 24, converts only half as good as 35 to 44. I know that in my breakdown data, they need to have half of the CPT of that cohort. And in most cases, especially for that segment, it's really hard to do to get them to a price where it would make up for their low trial to paid conversion. Because again, young users tend to have not that much purchase power, so converting them is a lot harder. Creative type equals targeting, fourth principle. Creative is targeting has been kind of the mantra of the last years. Everyone is targeting broad mostly and then uses creative to steer their audience mix in the direction that they want to. I think what's a bit forgotten about is that creative type plays a big role here. I often hear that, for example, people are doing messaging tests on statics and then they're trying to find out which messaging is going to be the right one, and statics are just easier to produce. But a static ad tends to run in a different placement than a video ad. So if you're testing your messaging in a place where your audience is not going to be, then the results most likely don't transfer to your actual audience. So what I usually see, again, breakdowns from an account. On the left, we have like a 9 to 16 UGC video ad set. It's purely just these creatives. And on them, kind of, I have 50% placement mix on IG Instagram Reels, and that resulted in an age mix of 81% under 35-year-olds. Now on the right, you're seeing a ad that is a one-to-one static, and that was running over half of the time in the Facebook feed, resulting in 93% of the traffic coming from age groups older than 35. Based on what we said before, conversion for that cohort is going to be much higher based on the data we saw. So of course, I need to evaluate these two ads against a different goal, and I can use creative type to steer my placement mix. And so really, it's up to you to find out where's the audience that is best converting coming from, and how can I use my creatives to then make sure that I'm spending in these places. How I do that is through forced budget for diversification. So in the end, Meta usually works on a winner-takes-all principle. Like this is a spend distribution from an Advantage Plus campaign. 64% of budget went to one creative, and then you have a few others that are performing okay, but never get much distribution from Meta. So by doing that, you are concentrating your spend, you are targeting to a very niche audience because one creative has one audience behind it, and you're very risky in the end because if you spend all your budget in one place, if that creative stops working, then you're going to be in trouble. So the way I treat this is I don't try to scale vertically. I also do at that, but I rather try to scale horizontally. What that means is vertically, I'm adding budget to just one campaign, one ad set, more and more, and try to scale that way. Scaling horizontally would mean I'm adding different layers of campaigns and ad sets that I'm adding more and more budget to. So I'm more diversified, and I'm expecting all of these ad sets to spend in different places, meaning I'm de-risking the account. Some different layers I apply here are, for example, country tiers. So you can here see an example where I have like a static and a video campaign in a tier 1 and tier 2 country set. And I might also have creative themes here where we're testing to target moms, which was just a kind of audience we haven't been advertising to before. So they got their own ad set, assuming that basically I want to make sure Meta actually spends money on the creatives behind this. if I would mix them with my normal static or video ads, then Meta would take the decision of this one is the winner, this one isn't. But if I want to advertise to moms and the other ads don't, then again, Meta would call the shots here, which I don't want them to. Some other layers I try to add on at scale is Advantage Plus, which is usually like 30% of my spend, lookalikes at some point when enough data is available, or additional creative types. So a video ad set might be split out into animation and UGC at some point. Signal quality over quantity, a quick one. It's always a big discussion, like should I move to upper funnel events if I don't have enough event volume? So should I move, for example, optimize for an install if I don't have 50 trial events coming in a week? I would say you shouldn't, because in the end you want the algorithm to be smart. You want it to take decisions for you, so you don't have to take them all the time and manage the account extensively. And if you train the algorithm on data that isn't relevant to your business, then they're not going to take smart decisions. Even a trial is already just a proxy. So yeah, make sure that you're moving as deep into the funnel as possible. If you don't have enough events coming in, you either need to increase the budget or you need to optimize your funnel in a way that you can generate more events, but there's no meaning in optimizing for clicks or installs, really. Obsess over upper funnel engagement. I gave a whole talk about this as a big topic, but just wanted to break it down quickly. Here's an account example from one of my clients where over time they shifted all spend from a kind of fair share of traffic on male to female. It's not because performance on male traffic, on female traffic is better. As you can see in the breakdown, cost per result, and it's a purchase, not a trial, is actually better on male, quite a bit even. But still, Meta took the decision we're going to target more and more females. And why is that happening? Because the engagement coming from females is a lot higher. Engagement being likes, comments, shares, anything that happens on the feed, because for Meta, it's a quality signal. And they don't care about if it's negative or positive. And that's the whole issue here. Because if people are giving you negative engagement signals, they're not a good audience in the end, but Meta uses it for targeting, gives you more of them, and then the account can skew in the wrong direction. So basically, yeah, make sure that you're also tracking and looking into what's happening, at least on your top ads. It's usually a few, 2 or 3. So really go into the comment section and try to figure out, like, what's the sentiment here? Are people liking my product? Are they starting like a good discussion under it? Or is it people saying this sucks or a competitor is better? In the case we just saw, it was a lot of privacy concerns and it was mentioning of competitors, which of course isn't the targeting signal that I want to use to then steer the account. Tailor creative to awareness stages. This is a fun little exercise. So in the end, Meta serves kind of across the full funnel. Like you can have Instagram Reels ads that are more a bit like upper funnel on the awareness stage, while they're like a static ad in the Facebook feed. You can do retargeting. Generally, you want to think of ads not in isolation, because within your audience, many people will have seen another ad of yours, and that's definitely a targeting signal that Meta uses, because they will see someone engages with this ad, they might need another ad in order to convert. So here's a little exercise I ran with an e-com brand I worked with last year. Basically, we created a sequence. Up on the left, it was kind of their main ad running, like an animation video, just a few products sliding through. And we saw a lot of comments on that ad where people were like, is this legit? It's so cheap. Why would I buy like perfume at that price? It must be shitty. So in the end, we hired an influencer that did like a review of that product. And we kind of took one of the comments that was in the comment section a lot and had her basically go through it and say that it's, in the end, it's a kind of high quality product, and following up on that. That quickly became our top performer. And then we followed up on that again with another kind of retargeting ad, which just restated the main value prop and the low price again. And all of these became top performers due to, in the end, not performing in isolation, but they work in a sequence. And that's how you want to think about this. If you've shown like one ad a few million times because it's been your top performer, really try to dig in, like, what could be the issues here? Why are people sitting on the fence that haven't been converting from that ad? And then follow up with other ads. So that you make use of that audience that has already been warmed up. Ninth one, bid caps for increased efficiency. I'm a big fan of bid caps. Been using them across most of my accounts. It's been tricky since ATT because bid caps rely on signal. Meta needs to know if someone is converting in order to know that you can bid for a certain amount. So it's been hard to get them to work because often what happens is that you add them and the campaign dies down. So what I usually do in order to implement them is I first collect a conversion history on a campaign. So Meta has some data on knowing, okay, this account can perform at $20 CPT, for example. In this case, you see the campaign running for a while, since beginning of June, where we had like big fluctuations happening, but there were first signals coming in. So then I set my bid cap and I add it in at a very, very high amount. So I'm not trying to make it like increase my efficiency for now a bit down. I'm just making sure the campaign doesn't stop running when I add it. And from there, I bring it down in gradual steps, like 20% each day until I'm at a level where I see, okay, now my bid cap is actually starting to have an effect on the campaign. And that's what happened here. So we added the bid caps in, started bringing them down. And basically what we see here is that from a steady spend and fluctuating CPMs, but also fluctuating CPA, we now are in the area where CPA has really stabilized, while of course CPMs still fluctuate. And what I'm expecting now is that the campaign most likely doesn't spend its full budget every day, because not every day is going to be a good day for you. Some apps have high seasonality throughout the week or even throughout the day. And you want your bid caps to make sure that you're spending in those pockets where it makes most sense for your app based on your conversion rates, but also the CPM fluctuations throughout the day. Last but not least, I don't ever use bid caps on creative tests because, again, if you don't have a conversion history, then most likely they're not going to spend. And of course, on a creative test, there is no history. So make sure that you kind of get data on that first, and then in your scaled campaigns, you can try to work with them. They're harder to use on scan than on AEM or web campaigns because, again, if you have lower signal, then Meta just doesn't know what it's doing. And on scan, oftentimes, not that many conversion events are coming through. Last but not least, always question what Meta's advice. Most of you will only have access to the marketing pros, which is kind of an outsourced team. They're rather a sales team than actual account managers. And yeah, I've heard people getting like very bad advice for them, or very obvious advice like pause ads if they don't work. So in the end, yeah, kind of question what they tell you. They can have benefits if you talk to them. I've had like accounts that were dealing with like a lot of rejections on ads, and actually Meta Marketing Pro was able to like get some ads through review for us. But when it comes to account optimization, campaign strategies, creative strategy, they're not the people to talk to. So just be aware that they might be trying to sell you stuff just to make more money. And that's it. If you don't follow me on LinkedIn already, feel free to scan that and give me a follow. And I see we have 2.5 minutes for questions. So if someone has a question, shoot.